Hi, my name is Conrad Wilson, and today I will be demoing my combat system for my third-person platformer in Unity. Now, this time, as I'm working on combat, I created an enemy type, which is my slime. Now, I've got some slime prefabs, and here they are. Here's my little trio, my little family. I've got a large slime, I've got a medium slime, and a small. Each one contains their own stats, movement, an enemy active area handler, and an enemy attack handler. Now, what the enemy attack handler does is that acts as a layer between the player and an enemy type to every time I attack the enemy, it then triggers the correct functions in response depending on the type, which is defined here in the tag, of the enemy. So if it's a slime, it knows it will be working with the slime stats, for example. Now, as you can see, each slime has their own stats. For a large slime, we have a jump rate, that's how high it jumps, how much damage it does to the player, so that's 1. If it spawns more enemies on death, in this case it does, and how many to spawn, it will be 2. I then have a spread distance of 3.5. That's the distance at which the new enemies spawn from each other. So there's 3.5 meters in between each spawned, and they're always spawned in the middle of the previous slime's position. So you could theoretically spawn 8 in a row and have them all spaced out nicely, and they all will appear like that. You then have which enemy to spawn, so of course it spawns medium enemies. And finally, it has a health value, what it starts at. So this large enemy starts with 3 health, and if we go over to the medium, it has 2 health, and it spawns the small slime on death, and it's got different jump heights and spacings. And for the small one, of course, it doesn't spawn anymore once it dies, and it only has a health of 1. So I don't need to set anything to do with how many to spawn, what's spread, or what to spawn, because it doesn't spawn any. Now, the way I have tested this is, as you can see, I've got these 3 here, and these represent slimes that don't have an active area. Now, what I mean by this is this yellow plane here. Now, this is the active area that I use for my slimes to test with if I choose to activate it, in this case, just to show you how it works. Right now, these enemies don't have the active area. As you can see here, with this ball, has active area is false. What this means is that they will jump and move wherever they like around the whole map, and not be limited within this area. Alternatively, if I do add an active area to the slimes, then they will predict where they will land if they jumped, and if that area is outside of the active area, then they simply won't jump. They will only rotate towards the player. The way this is toggled on is through either if you add an active area now, or if you set it so when you spawn it with a spawner button. As with my previous worksheets, I've used these buttons before, and I've simply repurposed it once again. If we have a look at it, this time we have some new things. We have an option for what enemy to spawn. In this case, every time I press this button, it will spawn a large slime. If it has an active area, right now it does, and what active area is it? What's going to be assigned to that slime? If I click it, as you can see, this is the active area that I'm assigning to each slime I spawn from this button. So I'm just going to press play now and demo you how the slimes move and work with these ones that aren't restricted. Now, they move around in a random direction each time, and they will jump as they do at a certain occurrence. How often? If you have a look at a slime, you'll see within their movement, they all have different heights, as you see, 14, 12, 9. They'll also have a detection range. Now, if you're within the detection range, the slime will start following you. I have just entered the detection range of this large slime, and he will now start following me. As you can see, I can lead him as far as I want away from the active area over there because it's not assigned to him. And he will keep doing so forever. So I'm going to stop that there and disable these guys so I can show you how the active area works. Now let me just walk over to the button and press it and spawn a slime. There we go, there he is, facing the other direction. Roaming his land, but I'm going to drag him out towards the edge here, right? And once he reaches the edge, and he doesn't think he can move, he'll jump once more. As you can see, the middle of him is still just within the active zone, but now he is stuck, and he can't move because he wants to move forward, but he can't because it's not within his active area. He will simply look at me, longing he could reach me. But as soon as I move within the active area again, he'll come at me once again. Now, the other thing I added was player stats. And within here, I now have a health and a max health value. Max health is what I start with, so I start with 5 health, and my health is updated through gameplay. If a slime touches me, it damages me. And in doing so, it also knocks me back, lowering my health by 1, or whatever the damage value of the slime. For simplicity reasons, they all have a damage of 1. So if I move into the active area, and he jumps at me, and he pushes me back, watch my health value as it decreases. There you go. Hits me back a little bit, and there you go, and damages me. Now, if he manages to get me down to 0, then I will lose all ability to control, as I have now. I've reached 0. I can't do anything. The only thing I can do now is respawn, and that's tied to the C button, or on the controller, the B button. And as you can see, my health jumps back up to the max value. Now the last thing I haven't shown is how the player combats the enemy. Now I have now got within my action script a punch damage value, how much damage I do to the slime, that's 1, and a reach, that's 3.5 right now. What that reach means is that every time I punch now, just like last time, I have 3 punches that will cycle in between each other. But every time I punch, it will send out a raycast in front of me for 3.5 meters. And if any enemy is there, it will damage it, as well as for the slime, it will get a bit of knockback. So let's start combating the slime. As you can see, the large has 3 health. So if I hit it once, it goes down to 2. If I hit it again, you can see the little knockback that I'm giving it, but I gotta make sure it doesn't get me. And once I kill it, there's the new slimes, the new spacing. And if I hit these guys twice, I will create the small slimes, and they will jump separately as well. Of course, if I punch them once, they will die and not spawn anymore. There you go. And of course, let's finish off fighting this guy. Run away because he's about to jump. Punch him again. Defeated all the enemies. Now, if I go in and change the spacing, this is just to show what options you have, right? Let's go into the prefab for the large enemy. Let's say the spacing, let's say it spawns 6 enemies on death, and they're going to be spaced 5 meters from each other. You can change its health, and if it spawns anymore, but I'm not going to do those. Those are simply explained, but I want to visually show you how these options work if you alter them. Let's spawn an enemy, and let's defeat him real quick. I'm going to make sure he has enough space to spawn all his children, his medium slimes. There you go. They have always been spawned in a row, and that is terrifying. But yes, and they're all spaced out at the amount I wanted, and that's the kind of options that I have within my game and my system. I hope this has showed everything you can do, the kind of flexibility that it has, toggling if it has a restricted area or not, that it patrols, if if they want to spawn more enemies on death, what kinds, all that kind of amount. You can change how much damage enemies do, or you do to the enemies, and yeah, that's my whole system. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. See ya.